Welcome to Reflections, Monday's short-form studio feature ahead of Friday's Photo Walk podcast. Thoughtful observations on creativity and, well, just life, really. You'll find all 5 of this week's reflections on our Patreon channel, The Extra Mile. Should I know you? Alexa, off, I said sharply, barking at the speaker in the kitchen and bringing the Radio 2 breakfast show to an abrupt halt. Did I just manage to switch this reflection off, by the way? Actually, I'm not even sure you can listen to this show on Alexa, having said that. I think you used to be able to. Then we changed the name, and for reasons only known to Amazon and possibly a bored intern in Seattle, it started favouring a different podcast with a similar name that stopped producing episodes many years ago. Anyway, with Radio 2 unceremoniously switched off, a wonderful silence settled over the room instead. I grumbled to my youngest. Radio 2's never been the same since Terry Wogan left. They've never replaced him on the breakfast show, you know. It's all shouty stuff now. I could hear myself turning into my dad, which is probably not fair because Dad was reasonably progressive, maybe Grandad. All the same, that Irish lilt of old Terry Wogan, the letters, the daft Janet and John moments, you probably still find those lurking on YouTube somewhere. It was from a different time. A time when a pause was allowed to breathe without somebody crashing a jingle right through it and shouting inane drivel. Terry who? Thomas asked with a scowl. Clearly, Terry hasn't made TikTok, even posthumously. A similar moment had happened about 11 hours earlier, when my eldest was talking about going to Reading Festival next year. Oh, thank God it's close enough you can travel home every night. Use a proper loo and get a decent night's sleep, said Sam, my wife, very sensibly. Don't think so, Jack replied. Staying in tents is what it's all about. I chipped in because I've met that river of mud at Reading Festival. It's not just soil nutrients that run deep in that field of dreams. My thoughts were as swiftly waved away, though, as Sam's. He didn't say it, but I reckon he was thinking, get with it, Grandad. I googled the lineup for Reading Festival next year, in case the conversation took a turn, for I bet you'd never heard of any of these names. I threw in, I wonder if Pete Tong is DJing there, like I might score some trending points. Pete who? Said Jack. Never heard of him. Terry Wogan, Pete Tong, names that, carried proper weight in my life, suddenly reduced to a blank look, flashed with a real expression of indignation, as if relevance has an expiry date, and nobody bothered to tell you when it ran out. Pete Tong's actually a really good example, one of the biggest names in dance music, well, in the UK at any rate, and Ibiza, thank you. Big enough that his name turned into a phrase for when stuff's gone wrong. It's all gone Pete Tong. That's cultural reach right there, I'd say. Clearly not for our kids. I've been doing a creative writing course online over the last month, and the tutor mentioned to me the other day that despite being published, and she's actually very successful, she'll still meet folk who thoughtlessly ask, should I know you? Now, as a question, that's not a problem, sure, but it's the manner in the way that it's said. It's like, well, unless you're Stephen King, don't expect me to be in the least bit impressed. One of my brother-in-laws calls it relevance. If he doesn't know you, you're not relevant. And it's proper sharp. I'm thinking he'd surely never say that if they were in the room with him. Although, I think he might, actually. Because, for some reason, creative work gives people license. License to say things they'd never say elsewhere. To poke, diminish, to offer opinions that nobody's actually asked for. You don't get never heard of your energy when you're, an engineer or a teacher, or if you work in insurance. Nobody sniffs and says, oh, right, as if they've just caught a whiff of something faintly suspicious. But creatives get this a lot. Photographers, writers, broadcasters, musicians, illustrators, anybody who doesn't turn up somewhere at 9 and come back at 5 with a pass card, that sort of thing. People say things to us that they would never say to somebody else in their place of work. I mean, imagine walking into a plumber's house, watching them lay out their tools and saying, "Blimey, what do you want to do this for?" Or leaning over the shoulder of an accountant mid-spreadsheet and saying, "I don't get it. Numbers a bit, boring, aren't they?" You wouldn't. You'd be rightfully shown the door. But mention you're a creative love, like a photographer, and somebody will say, "Oh, yeah, but what do you do during the week?" Or, "Oh, that's nice. I suppose it doesn't actually feel like work, does it?" I don't think it's meant cruelly. It's actually just a casual dismissal, a conversational shrug. And it's not just photography. Tell somebody you make podcasts and they'll say, "Oh, right, like a hobby." Tell them you write and they'll say, "Oh, I always thought about doing that. I could be good at that, actually." Tell them you photograph weddings and you get a proper head tilt, slight narrowing of the eyes, and the follow-up, "What's your real job, though?" Funeral photography, a special case this one. Mention that, people don't even try to hide it. Ugh! Oof! Oh, I don't think I could do that. No. Oh, just horribly intrusive. That's not something anybody would ever want, surely. We're all wired differently, and isn't that the beautiful thing about life? But there's a leap people make when they talk to creatives, a sense that the rules of courtesy have loosened, that they can poke at the edges of your work because it doesn't look a lot like their life. If you told somebody you were a solicitor, lawyer, nobody would say, "Yeah, that's not going to last." If you were a nurse, nobody would ask, "What's your backup plan then?" If you're a builder, nobody would suggest you're just filling in time. Yet photographers and creatives hear, "Yeah, my nephew's got a camera, he's thinking about giving it a go," as if the profession is something you stumble into on the way to the shops. There's also the time question. How long did that really take you? Followed by, "Oh, that's not long then, is it?" As if the years leading up to that moment don't actually count, as if the thinking, the failing, the learning, the panic, and the occasional small victory aren't part of that whole thing. And still we smile, we nod, and we explain ourselves, which is perhaps where we go wrong, like it's an excuse. Because creatives are used to justifying what they do. And it doesn't matter whether you're professional or otherwise, although I know my fellow paid brethren will probably associate with this slightly more, maybe. We're always halfway into an explanation. We carry it around like, spare change. "Oh, I just take pictures. It's only a little podcast. I just mess about with words, really. I've done it. I still do it. And then I get home and think, why on earth did I say that?" I really wanted to write this reflection today, not to whinge about impending irrelevance, not really to suggest that you're okay and it's perfectly normal when people somehow are short or dismissive or rude about what you do for a living or your art. But I actually wanted to say, and I think I will say, I reckon folk are just a bit clumsy when it comes to the arts. Stand behind people in an art gallery and it doesn't take long before somebody will say, "My 5-year-old could do that." And maybe they could. They could splash paint, miss the edges, surprise themselves perhaps. What they couldn't do is decide to stop at a particular moment or know when not to add one more mark. They couldn't explain why this version stays on the wall and 10 others have gone in the bin. A 5-year-old doesn't carry the years of looking and failing and copying and scrapping ideas and starting all over, lovey. They don't know what they're refusing to do. They don't know the rules well enough to break them or the history well enough to push against it. Which is the bit everyone forgets when they say it. The work isn't the splotch, it's the choice. I'm proud of that one. You know, making things for a living can be, a bit odd. It doesn't come with a uniform. It doesn't necessarily look busy, does it? Some days it might look like you're just staring out the window, or walking the dog, or turning the radio off because it's become too shouty. Some days it looks like explaining Terry Wogan to a teenager. Maybe being misunderstood comes with this territory. But still, next time somebody asks you what you do, maybe don't apologise for it. Don't rush to make it palatable somehow. Stand up, puff out your chest and say, I'm a wedding photographer, or I make podcasts about needlecraft. And what do you do? I'm fascinated. Then stop talking and see what happens.